Okay, welcome everybody to DES 113. I realized I was talking for a couple of minutes without recording. So for those of you who are watching at home, you haven't missed anything yet. I am Shannon McNamara. I am your typography instructor for this mod. And I was just saying to everyone who is here that I'm really excited to be able to teach this course, this mod. I love typography. I love fonts. I am a big font nerd. So this is one of those topics that I can definitely talk about for hours and hours on end, but I promise I won't do that to you. We're going to have a great mod. I do a lot of demonstrations in my classes when I teach, so we're going to definitely do a demo tonight of your assessment because it's a little bit more involved than the assignment, but if we do have time, I will also do a demo of the assignment. I just want to turn on my camera and say hello to everyone right at the start, but we'll get right back into our slideshow and we'll get going tonight. All right. You don't need to dial in with audio. You're fine. The only reason why you would need to dial in with audio is if you do want to speak. And I didn't have too much set up for talking back and forth tonight. But if you find that you have something you want to say, I do monitor the chat. That's why I run the live session on both my iPad and on my computer, because I can monitor the chat from my iPad, which is my second login. So if you send me a private message, chances are good I'm not going to see it, but if you put it in the general chat, I will. It's just easiest for me to, to kind of not have the chat box really big floating over my screen while I'm trying to teach. Zoom is not a perfect program, to say the least. As some of you probably know, logging in and using it, it tends to kind of float things all over the screen when you're trying to hold a session. So I like to run it in two places where I can leave all my dialog boxes up on my iPad, and then I have my whole screen to myself on my laptop while I'm trying to teach. But anyways, let's go over our agenda for today. I would like to pop into the course and just do, a welcome, some introductions. I'll go over the announcements that are in there. We'll take a look at the syllabus, the grading, Canvas, a whole little look at our course. We will be discussing the 5 questions for finding the right font tonight. And then, like I said, we're going to do a demo of Assessment 1, and we will do a demo of Assignment 1 if time allows. So again, I am your instructor for this mod, Shannon McNamara. My telephone hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. However, the best way to get in touch with me is definitely via email. I check my email periodically through the day, but I do teach for 2 different schools, so I am not always available to take a phone call, and a lot of times if I don't recognize the number, I do let it go to voicemail, and I'll check my messages later on in the day. So the best point of contact is definitely via email with me. And I just want to make a note, I do have an Arizona number, but I am located in Massachusetts, so just be aware of the time zone change when you are trying to reach me. If you send me an email later at night, it may be 6 o'clock your time, but it might be 9 o'clock my time, so I probably won't see it until the next morning. So I just kind of wanted to make you aware of that. Now would be a good time, if you would like, for those of you who are here, and you can type right in the chat if you want to introduce yourself, and you can say whether or not you want me to read your introduction. It's really up to you. But if you want to say what your name is, your location, what your major is, what kind of experience you may have with the different graphic applications. Are you currently running Adobe CC 2017 on your machine? And you can, discuss what your career goals are. And also, these are some great topics to go over in the Introduce Yourself discussion for this week, which I will point out to you in when we pop over into the course. So if you're kind of not sure, you know, what to put into that discussion, these are some good points that you can kind of go over in that discussion post. And it's not mandatory that you post in that discussion post, but it is nice to, you know, kind of say hello to your fellow students. And you know, you're probably going to have a lot of classes with the same students, so it's definitely a good idea to kind of get to know each other. So if you want to take a second and type in the chat, you can, and if not, that's completely okay as well. I will jump over into the course. We can take a look at the discussion in there for this week, and we can also go over a little bit of the course. So let me do that. Try to have everything else closed. There we go. All right. So one of the things I will tell you is, and this can make or break you in these courses, make sure that you are doing the daily checkpoints every single day. The reason I say that is I have seen people lose an entire letter grade if they're only logging in once a week to do the daily checkpoints just to get their, you know, to show that they are participating, or to use it for attendance purposes only. I have seriously seen students go from an A to a B, or a B to a C, just because they aren't doing those daily checkpoints. So one of the things that you can do is put the Canvas app on your cell phone, if you have a smartphone, and that way, if you're at work, if you're just not home that day, if you know you're doing something else in the room that your laptop isn't in, you can just log in right there on your phone, you know, kind of pop over from Facebook or pop over from Instagram and do your daily checkpoint, and then carry on with the rest of your day. So it's a good way to be able to log into the course and see everything, kind of the same way you would see, you know, any of your social media that you might use, or see a text message, or see your emails on your phone. So you can kind of use Canvas on your cell phone the same way. And I've seen a lot of students who have done this. They end up, you know, remembering more often to do those daily checkpoints because it's right there at their fingertips. So definitely take advantage of that. Okay, and I see, Ginger, you have typed in the chat a little bit about you. So you're from Kentucky. You are going for your associates in graphic arts, and you want to go on for your bachelor's. You've upgraded to CC 2017, awesome. And you're interested in starting your own business. That's awesome, 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 awesome. So yeah, like definitely make sure that you're going in. That introduce yourself discussion isn't found on the main page, but if you go to modules, and then navigate down, it's right here under week 1, starting with type, introduce yourself. So that's where that is located. Let me close out all of this stuff I've got open here. So you can see I have posted a hello to everyone here, and it looks as though Michael's posted in the intro as well. So it's just, like I said, it's a good thing, you know, to just make sure, you know, that you're saying hi to your fellow students. Good to get to know each other. You know, I have a lot of classes in the 200 level that I've taught where students have, you know, kind of formed a little buddy system, and, you know, they critique each other's work. They get together once a week and kind of discuss their courses and, you know, really lend support to each other. So it's really great because you're kind of building a community even though you're going to school online. All right, so the next thing I want to point out is the Study Hall Academic Resource Center, otherwise known as the SHARC. So within SHARC is the Student Success Center, the library, the writing center. There's a help area, ProQuest, student information, career services, faculty, the IU store, job board, and the graphic arts gallery, and then some announcements as well. So if you are looking to get in with your learning coach, you would go to the Student Success Center. And there's login instructions right here for how to get into the Student Success Center and find your learning coach. So just follow the steps. We're not going to go over the steps because we're a little bit short on time because of my smoke detector situation this evening. But you would follow the steps, and then you can click here to enter the Student Success Center, which kind of brings us over into the announcements portion. So let me open up the announcements real quick. I have posted our learning coach's flyer for this week. Our learning coach is Christy Paulson, and she is awesome. I always love when I'm paired with Christy for my level 100 classes. She's one of the best learning coaches. So she has hours Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Wednesday is from 12 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and Thursday is from 12 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So she's a great resource. If you need some help with your assignment, if you've watched the live session video and you're still a little bit confused, you know, or if you want somebody to just kind of look something over before you submit it, she's definitely a great resource. So those are her hours for this week, and I will be posting her flyer each week so that way you're aware of her hours. Also, let me see if I have any other pertinent information. There is a link for citing your sources in APA format that you can find in there. There is the week 1 live session and multi-session time change for the holiday. So our multi-session will actually be held on Thursday of this week. And then starting in week 2, we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'm going to go over embedding images in your discussion because you need to do that this week. So I'll show you that real quick. And then there's a little write-up to show you as well. So what you're going to do is when you are in the course, over here would be your name. I'm in student view right now, so it just shows up as account. But this would show your name when you're logged into Canvas as yourself. So you're going to click on the little picture of yourself. And where it says Files, click on Files. And this is where you would upload anything that you want to embed into your discussion posts. So what I like to do is each mod, I like to make a folder and name it the mod that we are on. So we're on mod 9. So I make a mod 9 folder, and then I might make a folder for each week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, and then week 4. Whoops. And then what I will do is that way it keeps all of my images, you know, together basically. So all you need to do is click on the upload button and you can browse for what you need to upload. I'm just going to pick a picture that I will upload right now. So that adds that file right there under your profile. Then you would just navigate back to the course. So go to courses, DES 113. You can go into the week 1 discussion and click on reply and, you know, type out your discussion here. And then where the little embed image icon is, it looks like the mountains with the sun right there. Click on that. Click on Canvas, My Files. You can go to those folders that you made, and you would find that image right there. Click Update and add it to your post. And then you would hit Post Reply when you're all done writing out your post. I'm going to cancel it out so I don't put some nonsense post into the discussion and confuse everybody this week. All right, so that's how you would add those images. And again, I did a full write-up for you so you can just follow along. If you cannot make it to my multi-session, There is a schedule of all of the level 100 multi-sessions for Mod 9 in this PDF right here. So you can download this PDF and take a look and see the other times that other instructors are holding a multi-session. So if you need to, pop into one of their multi-sessions, they definitely allow that. They're kind of like the more the merrier. So they've provided links to their Zoom rooms right there in this multi-session PDF. And that might have been it. And I will say, the way that I get in touch with everybody is through the announcements. The announcements should send an email to your email account. So make sure that you're checking the announcements every day and checking your email in the course. That is the way that I connect with you and the way that I get pertinent information over to you. So just make sure that you're checking those daily. And I do apologize for those of you who logged in and my announcement literally went out like 3 seconds before we were supposed to start our multi-session. So I do apologize, our live session. So I do apologize about that. And we have in this course, all right, let's check out the readings and videos tab. So in here are some required readings and videos for each week. Other than just my live sessions. So there is a Vital Source ebook that goes along with this course. There's a couple of YouTube videos for each week. There is a download for Adobe Type on different typographical terminology. And then there's a couple of other videos with just some resources for you. So make sure that you're going in to the course media each week and watching the videos that you need to watch and reading the chapters that you need to read. It will definitely help you out doing your assignments and just having an overall understanding of typography. If you ever need to find my email, Video 2 is killing me. Oh, you'll have to send me a message about that. I'm not sure which one you mean. Killing you in a funny way or killing you like, I don't get it. Sometimes when I say that's killing me, I mean I'm cracking up laughing. So that's why I asked. If you ever need any of my information, you can go into the instructor bio page. Oh, geez. Oh, that's no good then. I won't read that out loud. And all of my pertinent information is located in there. And let's see, anything else I want to go over in here? The rest of the stuff you can kind of just click on. It's pretty self-explanatory. So let's take a look at our discussion for week 1. It is an alphabet hunt. So choosing the right font is like choosing the right clothes to wear. This is, I mean, it sounds like kind of a corny analogy, but it is so, so true. Some clothing is completely appropriate in one situation, yet completely inappropriate in another situation. For example, a nice swimsuit would be completely appropriate at a beach party, but you probably wouldn't wear that swimsuit to a job interview, no matter how cute it was. Sometimes it is less obvious what clothing should be worn. Oh no, well I hope this one doesn't. For example, what should you wear to a high school reunion, a birthday party, or a casual business lunch? The same holds true for fonts. Some fonts have a definite personality and are appropriate for certain types of design. Using fonts that are from your current font list and at least one new font that you find on Typekit, which is a good intro to opening up this link, and we'll get into that after I finish reading. Please post a discussion about what fonts would be appropriate for the following situations: a newspaper headline, body copy of a newspaper, a wedding invitation, and a used car advertisement. So 4 very interesting things. Give us some names of fonts you would choose and why. Just remember, you don't want to show up for a dinner party underdressed, so choose carefully. So if you click on this link for Typekit, this will give you a really detailed rundown of how to add fonts via Typekit to your Creative Cloud. So Typekit is awesome. I'm not even kidding you. It might be one of the best things that Adobe came out with in a very long time. It used to be that you were kind of stuck with the fonts that you had on your machine, unless if you bought fonts, you know, found them online, which was, you know, completely illegal and definitely left you open to, you know, downloading viruses and not downloading fonts, or, you know, trading fonts with your friends. All of the things we used to do in the 90s, basically. So Adobe Typekit has fixed this by making fonts available to you via their Typekit service, which is completely online. So what you can do is you can go into your Creative Cloud, which is this icon up here. It kind of looks like the number 8 laying on its side, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And go to Assets, go to Fonts, and scroll. You can sync your fonts from Typekit once you've added them, or you can go to Manage Fonts. Manage Fonts. All right. So once you're in there, just click on Adobe Typekit and it's going to bring you over to Typekit. It's kind of a roundabout way to get there. Make sure that you are logged in with the same login that you use for your Creative Suite. The reason why I say to make sure, you know, that's the same login is before I had I have 2 different Adobe logins, basically. I have a login that I have for my Behance, and then I have a login for my Creative Cloud. And at some point, I ended up using 2 different emails. I don't remember why. And I had logged into Typekit as my incorrect email, basically, and I was adding fonts and they weren't syncing on my machine. And after about an hour of, you know, yelling, screaming, and swearing at my computer and Adobe, I realized that I was not logged in under the same email for my Creative Cloud. So learn from my mistakes and don't sit there like a lunatic yelling at your computer when it's, you know, definitely you, and make sure that you're logged in the correct way. So there's a couple of different ways that you can search for fonts. You can search by font family. If you know the name of a font, you can search for it. You can, you know, kind of look at some of the fonts that they've just kind of added. But the different font families over here, there's featured ones, sans serif, script, and then there's definitely more. So this is how you would select a font within Typekit. But there's, you know, definitely, yes, Typekit, yep. You just simply, or yes, you can do that too. You can click on Typekit in InDesign and Illustrator and it will bring you in there as well. So, you know, make sure that you're reading over how to add the fonts, follow the steps that are provided, and it will sync those fonts directly to your Adobe programs, which is pretty awesome. So that's what we're going to be doing. So you're going to pick one new font from Typekit to use, and you can also use fonts that are on your current font list on your computer. If you don't like any of the fonts that are on your computer and you want to pick 4 from Typekit, go right ahead. You know, Typekit is just such an awesome resource right at your fingertips for having great fonts. So, you know, I definitely shouldn't see Myriad Pro or Minion Pro, which are the 2 fonts that default in, you know, Adobe Illustrator and Adobe InDesign, as the fonts that you would choose. You know, think outside of the box with your fonts when you're doing this. So to make the comments easier to relate to, please embed an image, a JPEG or a PNG of that font. So what you can do is take, you know, go into InDesign and do newspaper headline, body copy of a newspaper, wedding invitation, used car. Set those up, and then you can take a screenshot of each of the 4 and then follow that steps for adding those images to your discussion post. So what you might want to do is, I'll kind of show you what I would do. I mean, you can kind of set it up your own way, but I'll show you my thoughts on this. So I'm going to copy newspaper headline. I'm going to go into InDesign. And newspaper headline. So for me, a good font for a newspaper headline might be, whoops. Helvetica 95 black. So I'm going to do newspaper headline like this. Or make my font smaller, and I'll say Helvetica 95 black. And then what I would do is take a screenshot of this. So if you're on a Mac, a screenshot is Command Shift and the number 4 all at the same time, and you'll get these crosshairs. And take a screenshot. And then I can embed that into my discussion post. And then I would do that for, all of them, basically. Wedding invitation, et cetera, et cetera. So that is one way that you can, choose to do your discussion this way. But make sure you're reading over the entire prompt and following all the examples. And yeah, I can't wait to see the fonts that you guys pick. So this is fun. I think the discussions in this course are actually pretty fun. Some of them can be a little bit mundane, but there's a lot of interaction in the discussions in this course. So yeah, if you did it a little bit different, that's fine. As long as you're meeting the minimum, meeting the requirements of the discussion, that's okay. I just, for some people who are like, I don't know where to start on this, I'm just spitballing some ideas for people. But yeah, if you did it a little bit different, completely fine, as long as you meet the requirements of the discussion. All right, so I'm going to pop back into our slideshow. All right, this is a big one. Let's talk about the due dates in this course. Now, I have this highlighted. There's 2 things on this slide that are highlighted, and I'm actually going to make the slide nice and big so everybody can see it at home. All right, all assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit. However, and this is a big but, communication regarding late work is key in this course. And communication is really big with me. If you send me an email on Wednesday or Thursday, even Friday, and you're like, you know what, my week is really hectic. I had to work a lot of hours, and I'm not quite sure if I can get my homework in by Saturday at midnight, but if I can have until Sunday, through Sunday, do you mind if I submit it late? And you know what I'm going to say? Take through the weekend. As long as it's up there by Monday morning, I'm not going to take off late points. However, if I don't hear from you at all, and then Saturday at 11:30 p.m., you send me an email and your work's due in 30 minutes, and you say, hey, I had a tough week and my work's not going to be in late. That's not communicating with me. Let me know ahead of time. And it will definitely save you those missed points. I will say this every week. Week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. The course will turn into a pumpkin. It will close out. It will not let you submit. There will be tears, and there's literally nothing I can do about it. I don't control the course closing. So you will hear me say that every single week. Also, you will hear me say every week, late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for that week. because after Saturday, we've all moved on to the next week's discussion. So make sure that you, even if you're late and you missed the original Wednesday deadline, post something by Saturday. The discussion is worth 60 points each week. That's a lot of points to end up with a 0. Post something by Saturday. Even if you get at least 40 points, 40 is better than 0. And again, your original discussion post is due by Wednesday at midnight. You need to respond to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday, and you need to post on 2 different days. But again, those late discussions, if you realize Sunday morning, oh no, I never did the discussion this week for week 1, and we're now in week 2, I will not grade it, and I will not accept it as being late. So just to let you know, and I'm definitely a stickler on that, because there's nobody left to interact with in the discussion that week. We've all moved on. That's the whole point of the discussion. All right, so let's talk about our course objectives. I'll make this one a little bit bigger too. Upon successful completion of this course, you, the student, will be able to understand the history of fonts and the influences it has on modern-day graphic design, be able to identify fonts based on fundamental characteristics, utilize typography creatively in various design projects, and I just wanted to take a screenshot of the expected course hours. This is in your syllabus, but I think it's important to point out what is expected of you each week when it comes to hours in this course. So total course hours, you can look to spend a little bit over 30 hours working, between the live lectures, the readings, the discussions, your assessment, and those daily checkpoints. You can look at spending about, and this is total, not total for like 1 week. This is total for the course. So you can look at spending total for the course about 62 hours between the readings, the discussions, the assignments, the assessments, and any research that you might be doing. So you can kind of see the breakdown each week of what can be expected of you if this ever goes away. About 22 hours or 23 hours the first week 1, about 26 hours week 2, about 20 hours week 3, and about 25 hours week 4. So I think this is important to understand the expectations of the course in order to succeed in this course. And this is kind of par for the course, like how to succeed in pretty much any course out there, but definitely in my courses, if you've ever had me as an instructor before. Number 1, read the announcements. The announcements contain pertinent information pertaining to this class, including links, reminders, scheduling. This is how I communicate with you, and I give a lot of tips and tricks in the announcements. If you've ever taken a course with me in the past, you probably know that I share a lot of information with you guys, and I share it all in the announcements. It's just like, it might be articles that I find that I think will be interesting to you, anything helpful that I think will help you with doing your assignments or your assessments I share. So, definitely make sure that you're checking those announcements. Participate in the discussions each week. Again, 60 points right there just for, if you do the discussion correctly. Complete your assignments on time. If your assignment is submitted late, you will get docked 20%. 20% means you're starting off at a B. So anything even if everything is 100% correct, you're losing 20% right there for submitting it late. So if you do 1 or 2 things wrong, you're already into a C if you're losing points. So just make sure that you're completing those assignments on time. Make sure you're doing the daily checkpoints each day. Attend the live sessions. I understand life comes up and you can't always attend them live, but definitely make sure that you are watching them if you can't be here. We will be demonstrating how to do your assignments in each live session. Come to the multi-session if you need help, and remember, communicate, communicate, communicate. So, starting next week, this will be our course schedule. Live sessions will be Mondays from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. and multi-sessions will be on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. The reason why I schedule them so early in the week is this gives you ample time during the week to then get your assignments done, so you're not feeling like you're rushing. If I had a live session on Thursday and I do my demo on Thursday, that would really only give you Friday and Saturday to get your assignment done. So I try to make sure that I get those live sessions done on Mondays. If you need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available and no appointment is necessary. All right, so let's discuss the 5-question process for finding the right font. Number 1, purpose and mood. So typefaces definitely have a personality. I'm just gonna make this nice and big so everybody at home can see. Do you want a typeface that is the font equivalent of a floral shirt and Bermuda shorts, or a crisp business suit? And the thing is there's definitely a place for both of those in life. Or do you want to mix and match for various sections of the content? Remember, you can only choose the right typeface if you keep the nature of the content and target audience in mind. But since using Times New Roman time and time again, gets boring, and a fun new pictorial font can easily outlast its welcome, the key is to definitely strike a balance between the trusted classics and that snazzy, stylish, novelty-laden personal favorite that you might have. Hierarchy-wise, for body text, it's always advisable to use a non-gimmicky, legible, and formal typeface such as Helvetica or Garamond. Those are two good font choices. Hold on one second. I'm just reading a question in the chat. That's a good question. If assignments and assessments were submitted well before Saturday, I do try to get in and grade early. There are some weeks where I might have grades in early. There are some weeks where I might not be able to get in and grade till like Friday. However, I do allow one set of resubmissions. So if you are not happy with your grade and you can definitely fix your project, I do allow you to resubmit once. So even if you got it in on Saturday, Wednesday, let's say, and I didn't get a chance to grade it until Saturday, I would still allow you to fix what needed to be fixed in any of the following weeks up until Tuesday of week 4, which I will go over again in week 4. But I allow any resubmissions once. But the deadline for any resubmissions are on Tuesday of week 4 at midnight. Yes, we can take a look at that. We'll take a look at that today. I might have to have you explain that to me again. Just another question in the chat, but we will try to, we will go over that today. Okay, so back to this slide. So, so I was saying that, good body text, a good body text font choice may be Helvetica or Garamond. It's because they're nice, they're classic, they're legible, they're formal. Because body text is large paragraphs of text. So, and I just need to, speaking of legibility, I should probably turn a light on in here. It's starting to get a little dark in my dining room. So, you definitely don't want anything that would be, this first font up here, this display font as your body text. Can you imagine that at 12-point type, trying to read paragraph and paragraph and paragraph of that? It would really start to hurt your eyes. So that's why we want to pick something that's definitely more legible. If you want the typography on your website, if you're designing a website to stand out a little from 99% of the web, you can try to use a distinctive yet sufficiently low-key typeface that does not upstage your actual content. You can get more creative with headings, banners, and text bites by using your favorite display fonts. But remember that most end users only have a limited number of standard typefaces installed on their computer. However, Typekit works with Adobe Dreamweaver, so that's something to keep in mind if you take the web courses. You would also go over using Typekit in Adobe Dreamweaver, which is kind of up the game for designing a website these days. All right. Next slide. So here's some examples. So you can see angry, comical, romantic, tech, other. You know, you can see the different moods that each of these font choices has. Here I have another one. So romantic, collegiate, creepy horror, gothic, theatrical, historic, retro, movement. This font has a lot of movement in it. So different moods and different uses for each of those fonts. So then we also have serif or sans serif, and this is a quick way to organize possible typeface choices, is to use the most widely used typography categorization, which is serif or sans serif. Most of us will know what these terms mean, but if you are a font newbie, serif fonts have feet. So these are the feet right here. So Garamond is a serif font. As you can see how it has the feet right here, the bottoms that come out, no feet over here. See how this D doesn't have any feet compared to this right here, which is a foot. Trying to see if there, of course there's no N. Or the M's, this M has a foot, where this one doesn't. It kind of flares a little, but it's not a foot. So that is what a serif font is. And a sans serif font just doesn't have feet, without a serif. Sans serif. You will be able to see this difference clearly in that snapshot, which has the classic serif font of Garamond and the sans serif font of Admisi Display. They say that serif fonts provide continuity and engagement and therefore improve readability, but detractors, otherwise known as sans serif supporters, and I am a detractor, I will say this, call that a typography myth. Generally, serif fonts are more traditional and old style, while sans serif typefaces are seen as modern and futuristic. However, these broad adjectives can easily be challenged with typefaces from both categories that defy such classification. So whether you choose serif or sans serif, there are a plethora of great choices within both categories. To learn more about type classifications, start by looking up commonly used categories, such as geometric, humanist, old style, modern, transitional, and slab serif. And you can always come up with your own groups and labels for your own collection of typefaces. That way you can get more organized and easily reach out for the type of font that you need. So you can see sans serif, no feet, here are the feet. And if this is all new to you, eventually you'll just see it and it will make sense. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's a serif font. Oh, that's a sans serif font. For some reason, I can remember which ones are sans serif. I'm like, because in my head, I kept telling myself when I was learning this that sans stands for without. And I'd be like, wait, is that serif font or sans serif if I'm trying to categorize it in my mind? And I'm like, sans, without. Does it have feet? So that's the way that I look. It's the way I do something. All right, so number 3, corresponding or contrast. When two design elements are placed next to each other, they only create a remarkable impact if they correspond or contrast. In the current context, this basically means that multiple typefaces should only be used together if they match, correspond, or present an engaging difference, contrast. However, if you use two typefaces that are significantly similar yet different enough to cause confusion over whether they are the same or not, you distract the reader from what's really important, the content. An example of this would be picking two similar typefaces from the same category, geometric or old style, for instance. Of course, there's rarely any need to use multiple typefaces if one will do. So if you're happy with how your web page looks using single typefaces, there is no need to introduce another just for the sake of introducing it. By using different weights such as bold, regular, light, and styles, italics, or condensed, you can have effective variation using that same typeface. So it's always useful to work with typefaces that come from a large extended type family. And one of the ones that comes from a really large extended type family is Helvetica. I don't know if you noticed when I was in InDesign, and I was picking Helvetica as my font, but you can see how many different versions there are. I'm just going to make a new document again. So Helvetica. Look at all of the different versions that I have on my machine. I bold, oblique. Oblique is italicized, basically. Light, oblique. 47 light condensed, 47 light condensed oblique, 57, 77, bold, italic, condensed black, condensed bold, italic, light italic, medium italic, regular. I mean, look at how many different examples there are of Helvetica in the Helvetica family. There's just a ton, basically. So yeah, you can definitely, you can definitely have a whole lot of contrast just by using Helvetica, which goes to show you something. All right, so number 4, experiment or fall back. Over time, you will start building a collection of typefaces that have served you well, and I am one of those people where I have a list of fonts that I used, my favorite fonts, all the time. These could be the top 20 typefaces that may be taken right from an online, 100 best list, or they could be the result of your own personal experience. Either way, building this list is essential, as you will need it in times when nothing seems to be working. And believe me, you will have one of those times where you might be on your 25th design of the day and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know anymore. I'm just going to use Helvetica 45. It served me well earlier in the day, and I'm just making my body copy Helvetica 45. And believe me, we have all been there. Every single time that I go to design a website, I'm like, you know what font I think I'm going to use? Source Sans Pro. It looks great. It's easy to read. And it's one of those ones I just fall back on. So it happens to the best of us. There's reasons why typefaces such as Helvetica or Universe is another sans serif font, are so widely acclaimed, and it has to do with how versatile, robust, and reliable that they are. You can use these trusted typefaces as your safety blanket. You can always return to them with peace of mind in case the cool new font you downloaded from some independent typeface designer site or a flashy display font double crosses you and may threaten to put your design in jeopardy. However, that's not to say that you should always play it safe. The biggest risk is not taking one in graphic design, and there's always an opportunity for experimenting, especially with fonts. So you know what? Feel free to try out a new typeface. If it doesn't work, you can always change it. And some of those new typefaces can be very versatile and reliable, and they might add something refreshing and individualistic to your list of favorites. So remember, everyone has access to tried and true best of lists, but only the best designers possess the skill, knowledge, and intuition to successfully utilize a new or unconventional typeface. And one of the examples of this is I worked for a newspaper for years, and we changed the body copy of the font of our newspaper back in, this happened back in 1998. I'm really dating myself here. It used to be Times New Roman, and they changed it to another serif font whose name escapes me right now, which means this isn't a very good story. But we were the only newspaper that was using that as a font. And it was kind of, it didn't look that different from Times New Roman. No, there were subtle differences, but all in all, it was kind of a really nicely well-drawn font. So it was a great font choice, and it was definitely an experiment. They could have, used trusty Times New Roman that every single other newspaper was using, but they decided to kind of make a bold move, and it is definitely a bold move if your entire newspaper changes their font. So just to let you know. All right, so number 5. Finally, follow the rules or break them. All right, so sometimes the process means nothing if the result is not worthy. At the end of the day, we utilize typography to effectively convey written communication. If you think that purpose is best served by using a display font across the entire website or using a variety of sans and serif fonts in conjunction, then go for it. But as you can probably tell from the descriptions, these instances of creativity are very volatile and need to be dealt with very carefully. Only when you are knowledgeable about typography and familiar with its conventions and rules are you in a position to break the existing rules to successfully produce something new and compelling. Typography can be approached both systematically and intuitively, and there are no hard and fast rules, just guidelines, but you have to know the basics before you can get innovative. So to answer the question posed in on this slide, or to answer a question that actually I didn't even put it on the slide that I meant to, but most people say, what's your go-to typeface? And I have a couple. Like I said, I really like Source Sans Pro. I like, which I will show you, Source Sans Pro, and it also has a pretty good family. I'm just going to use the regular version. I'll type my name. Why do I like it? It's just a nice, clean font. It's one of those fonts that I just think is really well drawn. I also enjoy Avenir. No, I know I have it loaded somewhere in here. There we go. Again, another just well-drawn font. And you can see I tend to gravitate towards sans serif fonts. I'm more of a sans serif font person. And eventually, oh, well, thank you. Thank you for that. I just read that in the chat. I am in my late 30s. I'm going to be 39 pretty soon. So yes, I'm in my late 30s. So, but yeah, I started out in the field in January of 1998. I got my first full-time graphic design job. So I have some good stories from graphic design in the 90s, basically. But you'll notice that, I tend to kind of have an old school approach to some things. And then at the same time, I know the new ways of doing it, but I'm able to kind of show you some of the old school ways, which might be a little bit easier for you. So I kind of like to show things both ways when I'm teaching, and some of my students have liked that, but those are some of my favorite fonts. And actually, one of the things is Source Sans Pro is a new font that I've added to my collection in the last year, because I was one of those people who just relied on my tried and true fonts that have always worked for me. So I kind of expanded my font toolbox and added Source Sans Pro as a go-to font in my font toolbox. So just you can definitely teach an old dog new tricks. I'm one of those people. So here are some of my typography tips. It is difficult to read typefaces whose strokes are really extreme, so too light or too heavy. Those typefaces with too much thick, thin contrast may be difficult to read if they are set very small, as the thin strokes may seem to disappear, and I can show you an example of that. And here's the thing. InDesign now, and this is kind of a new thing, when you click on the fonts, it shows you what they look like, at least with the word sample. So you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like on, when you use it. This is something new. The first versions of InDesign did not show this. So what we used to have to do back in the day is we used to have to make a font sheet with the name of the font in that font, and then print them out and post them up on the wall as just a quick reference for what fonts look like. I mean, talk about wasting a ton of paper in an old school way of doing it. And then InDesign was like, hey, why don't we show you what the fonts look like? And everybody was like, yay! So, this is great that you can see an example. All right, so this is an example of those too thick, thin contrast. So this is definitely a display font, which is called Braggadocio. So I have this font right now set at 42 type, but imagine if I had this set at 12-point type and as a paragraph. So let me see if I can add some lorem ipsum. So can you imagine if you are reading this as a story with this font? Tell me that that does not just make your eyes bleed if you had this as body copy. This is super hard to read. So Braggadocio, not a good font choice. Same with a script font. Very hard to read, at 12-point type. So the same goes for expanded or condensed fonts. Also difficult to read as body copy. Body copy is the best way to see if your font is going to work. So let me find an expanded font. Let me see. I know what one I'm thinking of, and I can't think of the name of it. Here we go. Rockwell Extra Bold. Definitely, same thing. Doesn't read very well. And then also something that is really condensed. Like Arial Narrow is Arial. That's not what I'm thinking of. Let me find something else, like a super, super condensed font. Something like this NFL Patriots font. Again, horrible to try to read. Here's I can keep this up on the screen. Body copy that is set in all caps. Very difficult to read. Highly saturated colors. So if I put red text on a green background, type over an image is also hard to read. So if I had, let me see. I'm going to use an image from last mod that I taught's course. So here's an image, put this in the back. And if I set all of this type like this on top of this image, all caps, super condensed, on top of an image, super difficult to read. People tend to read darker colors first. So keep that in mind. If you're doing a headline, make it nice and bold and a nice big dark color, and that's going to get seen first. Delete that image. There we go. All right, so we're okay on time. I might go a little bit late tonight, but I'm going to make every effort to try to end at 8, just because I have to give my daughter her last bottle and get her off to bed. But the 8 rules for creating effective typography. Number 1, learn the basics. Your first step towards more effective typography is to learn a little bit about the art of typography. And typography is an art. Oh, Ginger, you're cracking me up. You must have, I know what course you had last month. We're all sick of it. So, typography is an art. There is an art to designing a font, which is why some fonts, very well designed, other fonts, not so well designed. This font is actually called NFL Patriots. Not a well-designed font. Not gonna lie. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can kind of see. Jeez, there we go. 72. Look at how the letters kind of it's just not a well-drawn font. There are so many other well-drawn fonts, and this is what is commonly known as a slab serif, but there are better examples of slab serif fonts, such as Chunk 5, a much better drawn font comparatively. Like you can just see just the angles of the line, just so much better such a better font. So, you know, there's an art to it, and not all font designers respect that art. So the anatomy of a typeface involves very specific jargon, precise measurements, and if it's not well drawn, those precise measurements were not taken into account, and general standards that should be known and respected. As with many forms of design, you can only get away with breaking a rule if you know it well and are doing it intentionally to make a statement. All right, number 2, watch your kerning. And I don't care, I mean, you may be one of these people who remembers all of these terms off the bat. I will never expect you to know without Googling which one is kerning, because I swear I still have to Google it myself. I'm like, fix the kerning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which one is kerning? And I have to Google it all the time. So kerning involves adjusting the spacing between 2 letters in a given font. I always get kerning and letting mixed up which one is which. So note that this is a separate issue than tracking, which I will also confuse the name of, which adjusts the space between all of the letters simultaneously. So when you kerm, what you do is you might move this E over, but you leave the spacing between the rest of the word as is. So that is the correct way to adjust spacing between letters in type. Just all at once adjusting the tracking, you know, you can do it, but it's not the correct way to do it, especially if you're changing the spacing in a headline or just one word. You would definitely want to do kerning. If you need to change the spacing in an entire paragraph, tracking will work. But, you know, the correct way to do it is definitely with kerning. Be aware of font communication. So this is what we were discussing and what we kind of go over in our discussion posts this week. Font selection should never be an arbitrary process. Simply looking through your entire font library to find a font that you like will rarely produce an effective result. The reason is that there is an inherent psychology associated with certain types of fonts. So as you can see, this font for wrestling match, not really a good choice. Same thing with this font for wedding day, or this one for formal dinner, or this one for hair salon. You know, these are just not some good suggestions. Number 4, alignment. This is really important. Alignment is extremely an important concept in typography. For some reason, non-designers tend to instinctively center align everything. Somewhere in life we learned that if something is centered, then it is balanced and therefore better. In reality, center alignment is the weakest and hardest to read alignment and should be used very selectively. So I never want to see centered text for body copy. It's okay to center a call to action, which is something that needs to stand out, and to center a headline, but never center your body text. All right, choose a good secondary font. So if you've chosen a primary typeface, and that can be your headline, the next step is to choose another font that will accent it. So in this case, it could be your body copy font. This is as opposed to a font that will conflict with your primary choice. So as you can see, these 2 fonts conflict with each other. And these 2 fonts work well together. They complement each other. So this is the better choice of the 2. Number 6, size matters. Headlines should grab the reader instantly. You have a second or 2 at best to get someone's attention in the print world. If you miss that opportunity, you'll lose a customer. And this is something that you'll need to remember, especially when you are out there in the field. So out of these 2, this is the better designed headline. You could win a trip for 4 to the Bahamas. Immediately I see win the Bahamas and I'm like, ooh, win the Bahamas. What do I need to do? Although I don't want to win the Bahamas this week. That is for sure. With that hurricane coming, I do not want to win the Bahamas this week. And then number 7, use type as art. I mean, how cool are these 2 examples using typography as art? You know, stop thinking of type as simply a headline or body copy and start thinking of it as your design element. Typefaces are meticulously designed and can possess an aesthetic that can be a valuable asset to your design arsenal. So, type as art. And then 8, find some good inspiration out there. The best way to learn to create effective and attractive typography is to find and study some existing examples. Good and bad typography examples are as close as your nearest fast food joint. So keep a lookout everywhere you go for what others are doing and what you think about it and why you think it works or doesn't work. And then we have some common mistakes in typography. As with all of our great tips and tricks, there are things that, are common mistakes. Text too close to the edge of the page, text too close to other items such as graphics, pictures, other things of that nature. Text that's unreadable, so dark text on a light background, light text on a light background, or text over a multicolored background. Body copy that is all caps, very hard to read. Too much use of those handwritten fonts. Inconsistent spacing after paragraphs, too many effects, such as blur, shading, bevels, embosses, gradients, fills. Just stop. Outlined body text, very difficult to read. If you have to add an effect to your body text in order for it to be readable, it is not a good choice. That's my biggest tip to you. Take that nugget of knowledge from me and run with it for the rest of your days. If you have to add an outline or drop shadow or a bevel of an emboss or an outer glow or something like that to your body copy, that means that you didn't make a good choice in your design, because your body copy should just be readable as is. Body text that is too large or bolded, also common mistake. All right. So with that being said, I think that might have been an all-time record for going over the course and my slideshow. Let's take a look at our assessment for week 1. We're going to take a look at both the assignment and the assessment, but the reason why I want to send you out, do the assessment with you, is some of the instructions are a little bit confusing. So I just want to make sure that you know what I am looking for. And that way, if you are a bit confused, you can kind of watch my demo and go back, pause, see what I do, things of that nature. It'll just make it a little bit easier on you. But let's take a look first, just in case if we don't get to it tonight, the assignment. So assignment 1 is creating a letter mark. This is an exercise in seeing letter forms, intimate communication vehicles. The primary intention here is to explore various aspects of the fundamental design principles of balance, emphasis, contrast, and unity in typography. We will also familiarize ourselves with how to obtain fonts not installed on our computer. So your computer comes installed with some commonly used fonts, yada, yada, yada. This is all about Typekit. You can read that yourself. So use Typekit and install 2 fonts into your CC library from at least 4 of the 8 classifications: serif, sans serif, slab serif, script, black letter, monotype, hand, and decorative, that you don't already have on your computer. So we're going to open up this link. And Lawrence, I'm thinking this might have been what you were talking about in your question, correct? Okay, all right. See over here where it says classification? Those are the classifications that were being discussed right here. The serif, sans serif, script, black letter, mono, hand, and decorative. Those are them right here over here. So what you can do, what might be the easiest, is right click on this and open in a new tab. Each one. Oh, whoops. Oh, maybe that won't work. Let's try this. All right. Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was going to go away. So click on sans serif and you can pick 2. Click on serif. You can pick 2. There's literally 13 pages you can go through. Slab serif, script. Once you pick one. So I'm going to go to, I'll go to decorative right now. And I'm going to pick this one. What I would do is then click the button Add to Kit. It's going to ask me to sign in. Hopefully I remember my login. That's good. I don't need to do that right now. And sync all. It used to be they had to add it, but I'm not doing this for Dreamweaver. I'm just doing it for the other one. So sync all works. All right. You'll notice how it says Creative Cloud, the font Benny Black was added. Now I go into InDesign. Sometimes it takes a second, by the way. I'm gonna select this, go up here. Now, if I wanna just get to my Typekit fonts, oh yeah, you know what? It used to work that way, and then they change it. They change the site all the time because it used to look differently last time I logged into Typekit. So yeah, they change it all the time. But yeah, it's over. Just click on those classifications on the right-hand side. So if you want to see all of your Typekit fonts, up when you have your text box selected and text in your text box selected, go up here, click on the arrow, and where it says filter, click on the little apply Typekit filter icon, and it's only going to show you the Typekit fonts that you added. And you can see here's my Blenny font that I added, which again would be very difficult to see. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So the other three come up though, so you think it's working. But yeah, go Adobe all the time. Adobe, I love it, but sometimes they drive me bananas. So that's what you would do. And you'll have those fonts. So what you're going to do is you'll add those fonts, and then in InDesign, you're going to create an 8.5 by 11 document, and you're going to type the name of the font in that font and which classification it was found. So this one was Blenny, I think it's called. Blenny. It's definitely a display font. And then you're going to write a paragraph about what type of personality that you think it has. So 8 fonts, 2 each from the same classification. Next, you're going to explore letter forms. So a letter form is using the initials for the company, so 2 to 3 letters, so JST, basically, I would use for this one. Jumping Spider Toy Store, JST. Bank of Lantander, you could do BOL or BL, Toscana Italian Bistro, so TIB. Those would be your letter forms. You're going to create a typographical based logo that expresses your interpretation of the personality of each of the industries. All right, so then you need to create 2 different typographic compositions for each company for a total of 8 letter marks. For each composition, explore no more than 2 typefaces per solution. You're going to choose the typefaces and take into consideration what its form is and what emotion it might have. You may use a font used from Typekit or choose a different, from that exploration in part 1, or you can choose a different Typekit font that you think better fits the solution. And your solution should rely on only type usage and do not distort the shape of the letters. What that means is, all right, so let's see. This is the letter as it's typed. So let me go into paragraph. What I can't do is change the width and height of it. So I can't change the height to 150%, and then the width to maybe 80%. See, that's distorting it. It needs to remain at 100%. You can, however, use scale and size, so point size, width, expanded, condensed, weight changes, light, medium, and bold, italics or cursive, positive and negative space. The letters can be cropped, reversed, or rotated, but not distorted. So that's what you can do. So after you create the 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, you're going to save your InDesign file as DES113, assignment 1, part 1, first last here, .indd, so that's your part 1, and then you're going to save part 2 as DES113, part 2, first and last name, and it can be INDD or AI because you can do part 2 in Illustrator if you choose. And then what you're going to do is submit a PDF for grading. So you will export it, file, Adobe PDF export. You can do high quality print, or you can just do file export. And I like to keep all of my files together for each week. You'll see me do this. Week 1, so this would be my assignment. I would name it correctly. Do export Adobe PDF print, and then I would hit save. So 2 ways that you can export a PDF. So that is your assignment. So we've already gone over it, so that's good. Now we can focus on that assessment, which, like I said, has a lot of parts to it. All right, so let me close this. I'm gonna start from the get-go. Oh, don't feel silly at all about Typekit. Seriously, they've changed the way it was. You used to be able to search for it that way. And the funny thing is that obviously somewhere in the metadata, they still have the option to search. So that's so on Adobe. Adobe, like, will work, some things work a certain way on some programs, and then you go into one of their other programs expecting it to work the same way, and it doesn't, and it's so annoying. So don't think it's you. All right. So our assessment for week 1 is a basic typesetting exercise. So for this assignment, you will be graded on how well you can follow instructions, and you have no idea how often you will have to do this as a typesetter for some of your jobs. Like, I've had to do things very similar to this assignment. By understanding the typesetting jargon that is taught this week. Remember, following instructions is key to this and all assignments. Many times, a junior designer, and many times it appears to be there twice, a junior designer will be given text with the specs listed from their art director or senior designer that they must follow. Not only will this assessment help you show that you know the jargon, but that you can follow complex instructions on setting type. So we need to use InDesign to create a 5-page document, and we need to work in black and white. All right, and start with an 11 by 8.5 inch landscape format page. So let's set up our InDesign document first. So as you can see, I've closed everything out of InDesign. I'm going to start over new. So I'm going to go to new and make sure I'm in print. And I'm going to put in 11 by 8.5, which is my landscape. I'm going to unclick facing pages, and I need to do a 5-page document, so 5 pages. Start on page 1. I have some margins here. So columns 1 and column gutter seems to be correct. What I need to do is I need to unlink my margins. Because as you can see, I have a top margin of 1.5 inches, a left margin of 1 inch, a right margin of 1 inch, and a bottom of 2.5. So if I try to type in my margins of 1.5 without unlinking them, it's going to put 1.5 in all 4 boxes. So you want to unclick that lock box. So 1.5 for the top, 1 inch for the left, 1 inch for the right, and my bottom is 2.5. All right. I don't have a bleed, it doesn't look like. And I'm just going to double check that I have everything. Again, make sure you unclick this facing pages, or else it'll get really confusing very fast. And then click create. And as soon as I do that, what I'm going to do is I am going to find what this needs to be called. My naming convention. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do a file save as and just name it right off the bat, so I can just make a folder called assessment, name it. So that way I can just keep saving basically while I'm working on this, because it's always important to save and save often when you're in an Adobe program. All right, and scroll myself back up to the top. All right, so it says, typeset your name in an 8-point sans serif font in the bottom left-hand part of each page, 2 inches from the bottom and aligned flush left to the text box above. So I know I'm going to probably be putting some text box above. Your assignment is to typeset 5 pages of text to the following specifications. Tip, use master pages for this so you don't have to type it on every page. All right, so 8-point sans serif. So I'm going to go back into my document and close this stuff out. All right, so what it told me is to use master pages. And master pages are really going to help with this. I'm going to make sure that I move this over so you can see my rulers on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go over to pages. If pages is not showing up over here, you can go to window, pages, and get that to show up. And when you see that, you can see all 5 of your pages. Let me close up this a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then up here we have this A master. That's where I want to typeset my name in that 8-point sans serif font. So I'm going to double click right where it says A master, and you can see it's selected in blue. And down here in the lower left-hand corner, it says A master. So that's how I can tell that I'm on the master page and I'm no longer on page 1. So anything I put on my master page is going to apply to all of these pages that have this A master applied to it. So I need it to be 2 inches from the bottom of the page. So my document is 8.5 inches, so height-wise. So I need to put it at 6.5 inches. So I'm going to drag a ruler down until it's at 6.5, and then I'll let go. And that's where I'm going to place my type box. So I'm going to go over, click on my type tool, and I'm going to click and drag to draw a type box. And I need it also to be flush left with where I'm going to put my text here. And where I'm going to put my text is right up against this margin. So I'm going to select that type box I just typed, and where it says my X coordinate, I'm going to put that at 1 inch because I know that that's where my margin is that I created. This left-hand margin is 1 inch. So if I select this text box and set it to 1 inch on the X coordinate and 6.5 inches on the Y coordinate, I know it's in the right spot. So let's say you're having trouble getting that ruler where it goes. Just draw a text box and type in, make sure that the dot is in that reference point of the upper left-hand corner, 1 inch, 6.5 inches. So 1 inch X coordinate, 6.5 inches Y coordinate when you have it selected with the black arrow. So a couple of different ways that you can do this. And then if you double click in the text box, it'll give you the text tool back, or you can select the text tool back by going to the type tool. So I'm going to type my name, Shannon McNamara, and I'm going to select it, and I need it to be a sans serif font at 8-point type. So I'm going to choose Source Sans Pro, regular, and 8-point type. Hit enter. And there we go. So now when I double click on page 1, you can see that my name is there, but I can't select it because it's on my master page. So you won't accidentally move it, and it's on all 5 pages. And you won't accidentally move it when you put something on your master page, which is why it's a great idea, things that will show up on every single page of your document, to use those master pages so you don't accidentally move things around and screw up your document. All right, so first thing's done. All right, for page 1, I need to put the text truth. Copy and paste the text from this assessment. Don't typeset it. That way you won't have any spelling errors and everything else. So copy and paste it. So copy and paste truth, and it needs to be 225 points with 225 leading in a serif font, flush left. I need to look at the space between the letters. Does it look even? If not, I need to use that kerning tool and make some adjustments. All right, so truth. Again, I'm gonna just draw a text box. I'm gonna type in truth, or copy in truth. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to 1, which moves it over here, and 1, oh, it was 1.5. 0.5, there we go. And make this box nice and big, because I need to make this 225-point type. 5. And change this to 225. So it's asking me if the kerning looks good on this font. In Mini and Pro, it does. Pick a font outside of Mini and Pro, please. It's the one that defaults on your machine. Pick a different font. I'm going to pick Chaparral Pro, although that's kind of ugly. Let me pick I probably don't, I'm in Typekit. I'm like, I probably don't have a serif font that I've downloaded. I'll pick this one. So I need to adjust the spacing between the U and the T. It's just, it looks a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just the letter U, and I'm going to click on character. And again, if this isn't showing up over here, window, type in tables, character will bring up this, this box for you. And then down here, where you see this tracking, that's where you would change it. That's actually where you need to change the kerning as well, but with just one letter selected. So I know it's a little bit confusing because you're like, wait a minute, I want to change the kerning. So you can use the up-down arrows and it will do, mine does -10 at a time. And I'm just gonna see, maybe -20 looks good. So that looks, see how there's like a nice, where the T starts to overlay the R, and this space is really good right here between these two letters. I want to get kind of the same exact space between the U and the T. So that's good. And then I might need to bring the H a little bit closer, but I gotta be careful with how close it's gonna get down here because I don't want it touching. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. Let's try -22. There we go. So that looks good. That's got some good spacing. So I kerned those letters to basically make this just look a little bit better than it just simply being typeset. All right, so that's page 1. All right, page 2. The rules of typography can be broken but never ignored. So I'm going to copy this. Pages. We'll click on page 2. Again, I'm going to draw that text box. Copy and paste my type in. And this needs to be 36 point with 48 point leading, a sans serif font, flush left. Make line breaks at logical breaks in the text window. Avoid widows. So widows are words that have been left behind on a line, basically. So 36 point, let's do this first. 36 with 48 leading. So that's the amount of space between the lines. I'm going to use a Source Sans Pro again. I'm going to do Source Sans Pro Black. And this is a good place for it to break, I think, after the comma. That seems like a logical place for it to break. I don't have any widows, so that's good. I could also possibly do this. That's another good place for it to break. So either one would be fine. I'm going to leave it how I have it. Yes, orphans as well. Yes, orphans and widows. So sad. All right, so page 3. We have some body copy here. So let's go to page 3. So I'm going to copy this. Draw my text box. Paste my text in. Now for this one, and this is one that might seem a little bit confusing to you, these specs. All right, I need 10 point type with 18 point leading. All right, so let's change that first. 10 point type, 18 point leading. I need a serif font, so font with feet. Wait a minute. Be sure auto hyphenation is on. All right, so auto hyphenation is window. I'm gonna find this. window, type in tables. Nope. Window. I never go to the right place at the first time I do this. I am looking for paragraph styles. Styles, there we go. Paragraph styles. All right. Go to paragraph styles, go to your options, and go to style options, go down to hyphenation, and these are your hyphenation rules should be selected basically to hyphenate. So if it's not checked, check this box. That takes care of making sure that auto hyphenation is on. It's under paragraph styles, which is window, styles, paragraph styles. Then under paragraph style options, hyphenation, make sure that that box is checked. I believe it's a default that is checked. So chances are good it's already been checked for you. I just want to make sure that you know where that is. I'm going to set my type. I almost missed it by going to auto hyphenation. Set my type as justified. So that is this one right here, justify all lines, which is not good for body copy, I will tell you, but we're following our what our art director here has told us to do. And then I need to modify the text box so that way I have a medium column width or 70 to 90 characters. And you may be saying, what? What does that mean? So I need to, let me just close this out. Select this this text box with window info on and start to close it up a little bit. So that way, when I select just the first line of text right here, I have 91 characters selected. So I need to have between 70 and 90 characters. So I need to close up the text box a little bit more. Again, select the first line. And again, I'm 91 characters. That's because this is justified, so it's gonna kind of pick. It's going to squish it before it does. All right, 82 characters. There we go. So I'm between 70 and 90. So each line should have between 70 and 90. So you're going to have to close up that text box until you can see under the info on where it says characters, a number between 70 and 90. That takes care of that. Then I need to apply a first line indent of 0.125 inches to the second paragraph. All right, so here's my second paragraph. So if I go to window, type in tables, and select paragraph, if it's not showing up over here, that's where I'm going to do that option. So with this paragraph selected, I'm going to go to the second one down and type in 0.125. And hit enter. And that's going to indent just my first line. If I do the first one, it's going to indent the whole paragraph, 0.125 inches, and do not indent the first paragraph. So you can see my first paragraph, no indentation, second paragraph, indentation. So I think that this page probably had the most instructions. Page 4, use the same text as used on page 4 above. Basically, it's used the same text that you used on page 3. I had to read that 7 times when I was first doing this. So what I can do is I'm going to copy this text box, paste it onto page 4, move it over where it needs to go. And then I need to use a sans serif font, different from the one on page 2. So not that Source Sans Pro bold. So I'm going to use Source Sans Pro regular at 7, 8, or 9 points. I'm going to change it to 9. Flush left, so not justified anymore, so I'm going to change it to align left. Set the type so it looks good and is legible. So I might need to modify the text box to have a medium column width and increase only the leading of the second paragraph by 50%. So for example, if the first paragraph was set to 12-point leading, your second paragraph would be changed to 18-point leading. So right now it is at 18-point leading. So I need to increase 18-point leading to 27. So half of 18 is 9. 9 plus 18 is 27. Have to apparently do math to do this one. And then beside or below your name at the bottom, indicate the specs for your second paragraph. So what I'm going to do is under pages, I am going to right click on this page and I want to override all master items, all master page items on this page. So I'm going to click on that, and now this is a text box that I can alter. So I'm going to type in, let me zoom in a little, my specs. So I used, what did I use? 9-point type, so 9 over 27, and Source Sans Pro regular. There. All right. And zoom back out. And adjust, I would need to adjust this text box to make it look good as well. All right. Page 5. Typeset your first and last name, set in all caps or in upper and lower case, flush left. All right, so draw a text box. I'm going to do it in upper and lowercase, and then McNamara, and spell my name correctly. Choose a large point size, 72 points or larger. So I have a long name, so I'm going to choose 72. In any font from Typekit. Oh, maybe I'll use that fun font I just downloaded. Where is it? Blenny. Say that 10 times fast. Move my last name to the second line. Duplicate your name on a second line. Or if you're like me and you have a really long name, make a second version of your name. Now, if you want to make a quick, here's a good trick. If you have your text box selected with the black arrow tool, if you hold down Option and drag, you can make a copy of that text box and then just let go of it. Little trick for making a quick copy and paste of anything in InDesign. Duplicate your name on the second line. Leave the first line as it is. For the second line, make your typesetting legible as well as aesthetically pleasing by kerning the letters. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. It doesn't say to change the font. So I'm just going to kern the letters. I'm going to zoom in a little. And again, I don't know how much, I might move this O over. Go to character. Maybe move it to -10. Move the A. So whatever letter you want to move to the left, you need to select the letter before it. I know that's a little bit confusing. Let me move this over, -5. Probably do the same for this one. The A's are a little off. Leave that one as is, and move this one over, -5. And maybe move the H over, -5. There we go. All right, so I can keep messing with it, but that's pretty much it. And you know, I'm gonna make it, I don't know if you were supposed to change the font size, so I'm gonna change it back to 72. Just so that way we have a good comparison between the two. And then below your name at the bottom, indicate the specs that you used. So for this, Close up this text box a little bit. I again need to go to Pages, right-click, override all master page items, and it says below your name, so underneath, I'm going to put 72 over 86.4. How do you spell this? B-L-E-N-N-Y. Blenny. And that's it. And then save. And then what I will do is export my InDesign file as a PDF. So I'm going to do File, Export. Make sure I'm in my assessment folder and I've got the right name and convention. And if your name is long like mine, you can put your first initial and then your last name. You don't have to do your first and last name. And hit Save, Export. And then you would submit both your native InDesign file and your PDF for grading. So how you will do that is go to Submit Assignment, and you'll choose a file. So I would choose my PDF. Let me close this out. And then I'll click Add Another File and choose my InDesign file. And then just click Submit Assignment. And there it is. Yeah, you can do a zip file if you want. If you want to put your files in a folder and zip it and submit it that way, totally fine. Yeah, it'd probably upload a little bit quicker. So that is how we are doing the assessment. And like I said, just the assignment. You can do it in either InDesign or Illustrator for part 2. Part 1 you need to do in InDesign, so you might want to just continue on in InDesign. If you have any questions about your assignment or your assessment, you can visit me during the multi-session on Thursday, or you can always send me an email. Again, I do apologize for those of you who are like, oh, what happened at the beginning of class? You seemed a little bit, you know, out of sorts. All of the smoke alarms in my house started going off 3 minutes before our live session started. And we could not figure out, and they were not only blaring, but they were also yelling fire, fire. So there was nothing smoky, nothing on fire. I mean, I did make dinner, but you know, nothing that would lead you to believe that they should be going off. And we took the batteries out of the 2 that we knew had batteries, even though I just replaced them 2 weeks ago when this had happened before. And then the ones in my house that were supposed to be hardwired, apparently they are hardwired and they have a battery. And one of them, the battery was dead, but it triggered every single one in my house to go off, not just that one. And so we had to go through, there has to be 13 in my house. We had to go through all 13 of them to figure out which one it was, and they're all on the ceiling, and some of my rooms have vaulted ceilings, trying to rip them all down. So I do apologize for that. I was standing outside with my infant who thought she didn't even cry. She thought it was quite fun. And my husband was running around the house trying to take care of that. So I do apologize that I was a little bit, you know, out of sorts when we started today, but at least it's not blaring and we were able to do our live session. So I do thank everybody who was able to make it today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to pop into the multi-session or to send me an email. And you can always visit our learning coach, and she will be able to take a look at your assignment and your assessment if you just need a second set of eyes before you submit it to me. Don't forget to do your daily checkpoints and those discussion questions. All right. So thank you, everybody, and I hope to see you at our next live session next week or at the multi-session on Thursday. All right, I'll see you all later. Thanks.